All right, guys, welcome back to another amazing HTML beginner video tutorial on coding with Jeff. Let's pick up where we left off. In the previous videos, we have talked about headings, we've talked about subheadings, we've talked about paragraphs, how to add links to your page, and how to add images to your page. If this is the first video of this series that you are seeing, I highly recommend that you go back to the beginning. I've created a playlist. All you need to do is click on the autoplay button. It will play these videos in order so that you can follow along and get to the point that we are at right now. All right, so let's talk about something called the div element. All right, the div element is used to divide content. Now, it doesn't actually stand for divider, it stands for division. And that is because we are dividing content up into sections that we can later style. Okay, now this might not make a ton of sense to you right now, but when we get over to the CSS portion of this beginner HTML CSS course, it is going to make a lot more sense. All right, so just for now, let me explain what the div element is. Okay, so first, let's go and put a comment in here, and let's say, let's say this is the div element. It is used to divide content up into pieces that we can later customize. That is the simplest way that I know how to explain it. So let's see what a div element looks like. So we are going to do what we always do when we're creating an element. We're going to start with a left angle bracket. Then we're going to type in div. Okay, and then a right angle bracket, and of course it's going to create a closing bracket for us. So usually you would know going in that you are going to create a div for the content that you're creating. Usually it wouldn't be an afterthought. You would just create it as you're going. You would create it before you put in your H2s, your images, your paragraphs, all that stuff, right? So usually you would have div, then you would have your H2, then your paragraph, image, all that stuff that you want to put inside of your div element. All right, so for now, I'm just going to cut this. So if you want to put your div element here, we can right click on the closing div element tag, and we'll go to cut. Now on the keyboard, it's going to be Control X. So we're going to cut that, and we are going to end this div right after this paragraph here. So we'll go down right below the paragraph closing tag, and we'll put our div closing tag. Okay, so whenever you think about a div, here's what I want you to think about. I have small kids. They're not really small anymore, they're teenagers, but whenever they were small, they had these things called toy boxes, right? These toy boxes held stuff like action figures, cars, other kinds of toys that they played with, right? So think about this. Think about your entire HTML document, your entire HTML page as a room, right? So what we are putting in this room is a bunch of toy boxes. Now inside of these toy boxes, we are putting in content like our heading, our image, our paragraph, stuff like that that we want to divide up. That way later we can go back and customize each section that we have created a div for. Okay, so we'll be able to customize, instead of customizing the entire room full of toy boxes, we are only customizing one toy box in that room for each div that we create. I hope that makes sense. All right, so think about it that way. Think about a room full of toy boxes. You walk into this room, and on every single wall in that room you see toy boxes. Now each toy box is full of toys. Okay, in this instance, it's your H2 heading, it's your image, it's your paragraph. Everything that's in between your opening and closing div tags is the toys that are in that box. This is what we want to customize. So we can customize the color of that box, we can customize the background of that box, we can customize a lot of different things about that box. We can change the text size, whatever, without affecting any other toy box in that room. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. Hopefully that'll stick with you, because that's the best analogy that I can give you, honestly. All right, so like I said, a div element is used to divide out content into sections. Okay, so make sure you get this comment in there. This is going to come into play when we start talking about beginner CSS. We start talking about customizing our web page to look exactly the way that we want it to. All right, so that's it. That's all I have for you for the div element. We're going to talk about one more HTML element, and then we're going to dive into CSS, and we're going to start explaining some of the things that you can do to style your web page so that you can customize it to meet your exact specifications, or maybe you get a job doing this later down the road, and it will be your client's expectations, their user stories, whatever it may be. But for now, just practice this div. Just put one in a couple of places. That way you can get familiar with how the div is going to look within your content. All right. So make sure to join me back over here in the next video, where we are going to be talking about unordered list, ordered list, and list elements. All right. I'll see you there.